So, Donald Trump is having some issues when it comes to his staff, apparently. There's going to be another discussion about Obamacare, though in a different direction, and are we looking at another shutdown of the government over border security? More than likely. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as The Hatman.
Welcome to Micah and The Hatman on Politics Live. Alright. We have returned. Hatman survived the snowstorm.
Somehow I made it.
And we are back to discuss something. And actually, somebody immediately brings something up in the chat. So I refuse. I refuse to apologize for the exterminatus on Sonic Fox, and here's the reason why. First off, I did not condemn him or anyone else to literal death, nor do I have the power to do so. Exterminatus, for better or worse, is a joke.
Yes, very, very much a joke. Just like fuck 'em is a joke.
Yes, we don't literally want to blow people up. The reason that I did it, and to explain myself again, is very simple. He brought politics into an apolitical show, dividing a fan base that was not supposed to be divided, and it was incredibly childish of him to do so. Do I want him to die? Of course not. Do I care about what he does in the bedroom or what he looks like or anything along those lines? Of course not. I think that my character speaks for itself at this point. But I will not apologize for that. At all.
No. Troll on the internet, don't do it at an award show.
Pretty much. Not to mention, that young man was perfectly okay with a pro-life woman getting kicked in the head by a frickin' SJW. I am not apologizing. It's nothing against you, who asked me to do so, or anyone else who didn't agree with what I said. It's not personal. But the facts are the facts. And I'm not going to back down from it. Alright, let's go ahead and get into it. So, Mick Mulvaney has been named the acting chief of staff for the Trump administration. And Trump's Secretary of the Interior has just resigned. So, yeah. Things are getting turned around quite a bit in the Trump administration. The initial rumor was that Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of Donald Trump, was going to end up taking the position of Secretary... I'm sorry. Brain no worky. Chief of Staff. This is the third one that Trump has had so far in the course of 2 years, which doesn't really look good, to be honest with you.
Certainly not, especially when you know how they say there's a Trump tweet for everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Trump tweet for that. Yep, 3 new chiefs of staff in under 3 years. Not looking good for Obama, I believe was the tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are not looking good there. But considering Trump is a businessman, and he had the tendency to fill positions with family and close friends, people that he is naturally inclined to trust, and you kind of can't do that when you're the president, because that's pretty nasty looking nepotism. I mean, the last time that friends filled a cabinet, I believe, was in Grant's administration, and that did not go well at all.
Yeah.
So I can sort of understand why so many people would either be dismissed or would resign from the Trump administration. At the same time, though, the optics of it are... I don't even have to tell you that it's bad. It looks like the White House is in chaos. It lends credence to all the accounts that people have been giving about how nobody knows how to do anything.
Yeah. It's weird. I will say this. I think that as of right now, what Trump may be wanting to do is to look for a new staff that has a different goal than the first 2 years, or at least it's a possibility. There's different things that I hear. Some people that say that they have people on the inside say that Trump's not easy to work with, that there's a lot of people who are kind of pulling the leash on him a lot to, get him from doing anything too crazy. And there's others that are saying that he has, he basically has a tendency to, hire people for a certain purpose, and when that purpose is complete, he'll, and if they don't want to stick around, he lets them go. Then again, I don't know what the agenda is for the next 2 years with Donald Trump, and that's the weird thing, is that it seems like it's going to mostly be defense. We talked about this on the election special when we knew that the House was going to the Democrats, that there were going to be a lot of threats of trying to get him out. Now, I think that it's suicidal for them, politically speaking, to go after Donald Trump. Donald Trump is much more popular than Barack Obama was at this point in each man's presidency. Trump has a big love base when it comes to lower class working people. He has a big love base when it comes to businessmen. He has, the only demographic that really does not seem to have at least some sort of representation among the Trump fandom as a president is, or like overwhelmingly so, or I'm sorry, not the right word, but doesn't really seem to like Donald Trump, is suburban housewives. Because they don't like the way he acts. So, that's why my mom hates him. I'll be honest. My mother hates Donald Trump.
I have to say, it's the opposite with my mom.
Yeah.
Like, she is a registered Democrat, and Trump coming into office has really made her want to switch parties now. So she is definitely on the train there. Yeah.
It's a weird scenario. We're seeing shifting demographics all over the place. And I do think that if the House continues to go after Donald Trump, they're going to make a victim out of him, and they're going to turn him into the underdog. And what does America love? Underdogs.
Yeah.
So I think that he's kind of putting people around him who are diehard Donald Trump loyal people, like you said, Hatman, who are going to defend him as much as they can, and use what the House is going to try to do against them to basically create political suicide, so that whenever the next turnaround comes, we're probably going to have a red wave in the House, and we'll get the House back. I think that that's likely, because if they continue to press these investigations, which look like abuse of power, to be frank, and they continue to say, we're going to subpoena everyone for everything, and you've got people in the House like Nancy Pelosi and even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez basically threatening the Trump family with investigations on stuff. It doesn't make them look good. Speaking of which, Shutdown.
Yeah, Lumen Shutdown. It's basically a replay of what we had in January. Trump wants the border wall funded. Initially, Chuck Schumer was willing to give like over $1 billion for it, but that wasn't the whole thing. I think Trump had asked for like 5 at that point. And other Dems were like, Schumer does not deserve to be minority leader if he's actually going to give Trump border wall funding.
Yeah.
And Nancy Pelosi is now just recently on record as saying, I would sooner leave the government shut down forever than give him 1 penny of funding for the border wall.
So let's talk about this matchup. So we've got the executive branch basically saying that if a budget comes towards us without funding for the border wall, Trump says he wants $5 billion, then then the government will shut down. Now, for those who don't know what that means, what a government shutdown is basically all non-essential personnel within the government are not getting paid. It shuts down all funding for them. And usually what ends up happening is that there are immediately bills that are passed to fund certain parts of the government in the meantime. And then, of course, it can be political suicide if the other part of this of Congress is unwilling to pass those parts of the budget. Mm-hmm. One that made the Democrats look very bad in the Senate when the Republicans had the House during Obama's time was that they passed bills that would fund the military and fund veterans and veteran memorials and things like that. And the Democrats refused to do it, and it was all over the news, and it made them look terrible. Yep. And chances are the Senate will do the exact same thing this time, and it will make them look terrible again because they know their enemy.
Even in January, it looked bad for the Democrats because initially they were willing to negotiate border funding because DACA was on the table.
Yes.
I mean, Trump straight up said, yes, I will give you what you want with DACA if you give me full funding for the border wall and enhanced security.
Yeah.
And initially, yeah, they were negotiating with it. It was just a matter of the numbers. I think it was like 16 billion or something at that point.
Yeah.
And Schumer was trying to negotiate it much lower than that. And eventually
it fell apart.
Somebody, I don't remember if it was Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris or one of those two. I seem to remember. Basically said, no, we should not use DACA as a bargaining chip. We should not use families as a bargaining chip. And all of a sudden, it flipped. No, DACA should not be used to bargain for border funding, and they went against it, and they let the government shut down.
Yep.
And it played terrible for them because everyone knew they were close to a compromise, and then it fell apart because some loudmouth decided to fuck it all up.
Yeah, pretty much. And this is sort of where they're at. Trump has basically said, "I'll own a shutdown. I'll own it." Mm-hmm. Well, I think that Trump is making a gamble here, but I think it's going to work in his favor. Odds are that if the government shuts down, again, like I said, the Senate is going to play the game that they know to play. Because the Republicans are going to start putting in, bills for the interim that are going to fund things that people think are good. Veterans affairs, things along those lines. Memorial sites, and the Democrats are going to try to play hardball on it. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing that will end up happening is that, you'll see senators going to these veteran sites and ordering them to be opened for the veterans who are visiting, which happened last time during the Obama era. Which was a huge PR move by the Republicans. Not that it was a bad move, because it was exactly what they needed to do. Because it's wrong to shut those things down, and it's wrong to deny people access to those because there's a government shutdown. Fuck that. But he knows for a fact that Schumer and Pelosi, the way that just the general stance that they have, does not make them popular with most of America.
No,
it makes them popular in California and New York. Mm-hmm. But that's it. And even then, not all of those states, specifically Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York City. Mm-hmm. So, not on top of that, it was also a brilliant move for Trump to know that border security is a big thing for a lot of people and to have this discussion while the press was still in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It made Pelosi and Schumer look like they are unwilling to compromise.
Yeah.
It made them.
They were taken off guard.
Yeah. Well,
brilliant move.
Yeah. People saw exactly what they are made of in regards to this whole thing. Like it really, really made it look like, not only that they don't care, that they want open borders, that they don't care about the problems, and how do you look at that if you're someone from Arizona? How do you look at that if you're somebody from New Mexico, from those border states or from Texas? You look at that and you go, what the hell is wrong with these people? And it loses Democrats' favor. It really does, because people see what the agenda is.
Yeah.
So brilliant move, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. I still am very adamant about just Patriot Bricks. I
saw Charlie Kirk's on the train. I wonder if Charlie Kirk watches Micah and The Hatman, because it's like, well, we've been talking Patriot Bricks for at least a month now, and then he starts saying, "Yeah, we should crowdfund the wall." Thanks for
Let's do
stealing
it.
my idea, Charlie. Fucker.
I'm serious though. We need to do this. It'll solve the problem of the optics for the Democrats. It gets the wall funded, and everybody's happy except
Exactly.
people trying to cross the border illegally.
Exactly. And then think of all the press that's going to go out there calling, most Americans racist for wanting to put the bricks on the wall. Then you're going to have these black dudes who bought like 20 Patriot bricks going, "Motherfucker, what?"
You're gonna have like a 60 minutes report on the construction of the wall, and they've got like one part of it that's just like the B movie script etched into every brick. I'm serious. Like, do it. Sell the bricks for like $10 a pop, $20 if you want something engraved on it, and limit to the characters. So of course,
and you know what?
Don't let anybody put anything racist on there, of course.
And on top of that, we open it up so that people from Mexico can buy them too. So
Yeah,
that Mexico can literally pay for the wall.
Yeah, internationally, I had people on my Twitter feed saying, "Yeah, I'm not even American, and I would totally buy some Patriot bricks."
Well, the Israelis would buy a bunch and go, "This is a good idea." It's like, it works for us. The Polish
the
too.
Southern Wall. Yeah, why not? Like, come on, let's do this. Let's do this. Hashtag Patriot Bricks. Make it trend.
Exactly. That needs to happen. I think that would honestly be. It's like war bonds back in World War II. That's where I originally had the idea. It's like, we had civilian funding for the war during that time. Why don't we have civilian funding for this? I mean, yeah, taxes are civilian funding, but you know what I mean. Voluntary civilian funding.
Yeah. Well, see, the difference in war bonds is you're still getting. That's like an investment, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, you were getting a dividend paid back to you.
Yes.
It's just completely like the dividend that you get is border security.
Yes.
That's what you get. That's what you're paying for.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine. I mean, let's go full libertarian. Screw it.
Yeah. Why not? But that's the thing is, people scream that this is racism and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with skin color. If Germany were to the south of us, I'd build the wall.
Build the wall.
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
That button is starting to become my favorite over Exterminatus.
It really is.
It's so
But
fun.
seriously. Hashtag Patriot Bricks. Make
Yes.
it trend. Tweet it out to all the big people that would love this idea. I'm serious. Let's get this going. Patriot Bricks. We will build the wall.
Yes. People want a he's fat button. I'll tell you what, when I finish my weight loss crusade, I will make a he's fat button. I've still got about 40 pounds to go. So, I want to get under 300 pounds. I'm at 335 as of this morning. Lowest I've been so far has been 331. So, my weight has been kind of fluctuating lately because my sleep schedule has been all over the place. So, all right. Let's but I'm pretty trim for a guy my size. But then again, I'm built like a tank. I'm built like an offensive lineman. Which, oddly enough, when I played football, I was not an offensive lineman. I was a fullback. Because, as Hatman can attest by seeing my punching speed, I move a lot faster than I look.
Wilson Fisk in that regard.
Yeah. Alright, let's move on to the third topic. So, this was one when you tweeted me about, or hit me about this on Twitter, Hatman, I was in shock about. A Texas judge, was it a federal judge in Texas? Yes. Has axed Obamacare and declared it unconstitutional. Bit late to the party, but his reasoning is that without the individual mandate, that it was an unconstitutional law. And this, for better or worse, might be one of the craziest moves, in my opinion, in recent politics. Now, one thing I will admit I have complained about is that we don't have a legislative agenda on the right now. We have a judicial agenda. which has its pros and cons. One of the cons of it is that it gives the judicial branch of the government way too much power. On the other hand, when that ability is given to the right people, it can be used to do a lot of good. We saw the downside of it when it came to the Supreme Court refusing to hear a bill that would affect Planned Parenthood, which Kavanaugh, I was all for you, and now I'm kind of like, fuck you because of that. But then again, that's one decision. Like Hatman and I said, he's Captain Milquetoast. He's not as, he has a lot of heart to him, but that can be a bad thing in that it kind of makes him a little, he doesn't have the testicular fortitude of a Gorsuch, which is sort of, in my opinion, the one thing that he's missing that someone like Amy Coney Barrett does not. So, but anyway, this, speaking of judges with balls, this, however, came out of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of you might be asking, okay, isn't this a little late? Kind of is, but this is a strategic move. It's not a virtue signal. This is a strategic move. This is going to force Obamacare to go back to the Supreme Court. Because let's face it, right now we're not going to be able to get rid of it. We can't right now. We don't have the votes in the House to get rid of it anymore. So what we find here is a move that will, of course, bring it to the Supreme Court, and it takes away the whole penalty bit or tax bit that the Supreme Court was so okay with last time around. And they have to look at it again for what it really is. A law that forces people to buy something. Hatman, how do you think this goes this time around?
Honestly, I don't know. I really, really don't know. It's a complex ruling too, because he ruled the individual mandate unconstitutional. All of Obamacare is considered null and void as a result, and that includes things that had some bipartisan agreement, like pre-existing conditions.
Yeah.
So this probably will go to the Supreme Court. There's no telling what'll happen there, but I think this is going to push the Republicans to finally get a damn healthcare package put together, but it'll also push the Democrats to Medicare for all, because now this is their time. Okay, if Republicans are going to scuttle Obamacare, then we just need to go full Medicare for all.
Yeah, that's basically...
That will end up being a disaster.
Yes, it would bankrupt our country overnight.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's not a very good idea. And I can't help but wonder, and I'll probably be very unpopular for saying this, I can't help but wonder if this is a form of judicial activism too. Because this comes at a time like right before the deadline to register for a healthcare plan through the Obamacare site.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden everyone, who signed up or was about to sign up is uncertain about whether or not they're going to be covered, or if their premiums are going to go up as a result. I can't help but wonder, because of the timing of it, if this is some kind of activist judge that we've criticized the left for utilizing.
Yeah, and you're probably not wrong. And it really puts us in a position to where it's like, do we really approve of judicial activism on one side and on the other? And no, obviously we don't.
Yeah.
The question is that, I just think it brings up a good question. Is the law constitutional as a whole? I don't think it is.
I think the individual mandate itself is unconstitutional. That was the big part of Obamacare that people had an issue with. And to strike out the entire law because of the mandate, which was getting repealed anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I think that more than anything, though, as a law, it does need to go. It has done nothing but really drive up rates, and healthcare is honestly over legislated as it is.
Yeah.
That's the real issue with it, is that it's over legislated to the point. I don't know any. I work in insurance, and I have worked in insurance. So insurance and security are like the two things I've done over the last the last decade. That and sales, but part of that was selling insurance. So like, I can't think of, of all the pieces of insurance I've worked with, automotive, life, and health. Like, health is the most complex, and it's because there's so many goddamn laws, a lot of which don't make any sense. And here's the thing. I honestly think that part of this discussion could have been nullified years ago if there had been just a judicial definition or a legislative definition of pre-existing condition. Mm-hmm. Because it tends to differ from company to company. Mm-hmm. You get one company that says, well, it's pre-existing in the sense that, you didn't know about it before you stepped into this office until you started feeling symptoms. Ergo, you are not, whatchamacallit, you are not held to that kind of a standard. To others, there are folks that, we're getting some lag in there. But anyway, but to folks that are that go in and they find out that they've got a condition, and then they'll say it's like, oh, this study, or the research says here that you've had this for a while, before you came into this office, ergo this is a pre-existing condition. Like, that's scummy. But it's not something that was heard of very often. So when it comes right down to it, I want this law gone, but I want it done the right way. So we'll have to see what happens next, for sure.
There's something I want to address from the chat. Antimatter Carp said the mandate made it a tax. Removing the fee makes it not a tax. That was the Supreme Court that ruled that it was a tax, and I think they got that decision absolutely wrong.
Oh yeah,
it was a penalty. It was not a tax. It was a penalty.
Yeah. And
that, if that ruling had been made correctly, we wouldn't have had to deal with that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we could have figured things out a long fucking time ago.
All right, let's move on to our first quick hit of the day. So, I know nothing about this. Tell us about Silent Sam, Hatman.
Okay, Silent Sam. Quick rundown. Silent Sam is a statue it was a statue on the campus of UNC Chapel Hill, oldest university in the state of North Carolina, that recognized and honored the former students that left college to go and fight for the Confederacy. The dedication speech for the statue was made by a dude who was, no doubt about it, rather racist, because he talked about, quote, whipping a Negro wench just up the street from where the statue was erected. So people naturally, because it's a Confederate statue and because its dedication had a racist speech behind it, don't like the damn thing. Protesters tore it down. We covered that on the previous podcast. And it's been sitting in limbo ever since. I heard some accounts saying it had been sitting in a literal trash can, and I heard other accounts saying that it was just stored away somewhere after being torn down. Anyway, recent proposal came up in accordance with North Carolina law, which says any statue that comes down or is otherwise dismantled or removed needs to be restored to its original spot or a spot close by within 90 days. Obviously, this one was not restored within 90 days, but they got a special extension. UNC Chapel Hill was going to build a museum to the history of the school, including putting the statue into context, proper historical context, talking about the history of the school and it being built by slaves and issues with racism and stuff like that. The whole dirty history of the school. And it was rejected a couple days ago only because former and current student athletes signed a petition against the proposed museum or historical building or whatever you want to call it. That's basically UNC Chapel Hill's bread and butter right there. So, yeah. You also had teachers refusing to issue final grades, which would impact graduation unless the proposal was nixed. It's a shit show. But it boils down to this. The whole argument that it belongs in a museum with proper context is now null and void. Because they were offered that, they rejected that. So now what we get, more than likely, is Silent Sam back in its original spot, being guarded 24 hours a day, because they know protesters are going to target it again, and they're going to try and destroy it, completely destroy it this time. And everyone's back to being pissed off. What the hell?
Yeah. I am of the opinion that history is history, so getting angry about it is a little silly, unless it was something truly disturbing. If you wanted to move it to, I don't know, a museum or something, that's more understandable. And replace the statue with something else, go for it. Provided it's not like a vagina or something. But given the state of college campuses, it's probably what it would end up being. And it would end up being some altered femininity, in which case, First Commandment. Anyway, when it comes right down to it, I'm disturbed by just the sort of attitude towards any sort of statue, except for the, it's like Silent Sam needs to come down, but the statue of Vladimir Lenin in Seattle is perfectly fine. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Criminally.
Yeah. It's hilarious too, because the protesters, like, back when it became first popular to protest against Silent Sam, and this was a couple years ago, they said that they wanted the university to acknowledge, all of its dirty history, to basically atone for the racism that was perpetuated and whatnot. And they were going to be given that. That's exactly what they were going to be given, to the tune of like $5.7 million, sure, but
yeah,
you can't just get it for free. Good God. But now they're saying, oh, well, this is just an enshrinement of Silent Sam, implying that any kind of museum that would take the damn statue would be a shrine for it.
Bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I say that this whole argument about they belong in a museum is completely nullified at this point.
Here's what we'll do. I have a compromise for you social justice warriors out there that might be listening to this. More than happy to acknowledge the disgusting things that came around the creation of the Silent Sam monument and the things that were said the instant you denounced the Red Guards Rebellion. I'll be waiting for you. Next topic and final one for the day. Gay conservatives speak up. So, there was an article penned over at Deadspin, of all places, which used to be about sports. Not really so much anymore.
Former Gawker property.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of their Actually, let's get into one of their more recent fuck-ups right out of the gate. They penned an article that was a response to gay conservative writer Chad Felix Green. That basically saying that gay conservatives need to shut the fuck up because if you're gay and you're a conservative, you're against gays because an octopus lives in their head or something. I don't fucking know. The logic made no fucking sense. Now, let me say this to you, for those who are reading or watching this. Deadspin, not a day before this article went out, tried to stand up for a pedophile writer for the MMA blog Bloody Elbow, saying that Bloody Elbow was targeted because it tries to talk about intersectionality in MMA. Never mind that the guy was a convicted pedophile. Oh, it would have never come up because something intersectionality. Fuck you. Seriously?
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
This is where we are at. But thankfully, and this is the good news for the week, gay conservatives gave him the finger right back and said, we will not be silent because you sit there and say that we are against ourselves because we want lower taxes, because we want less government, etc., etc. Because that's the thing. And this is my problem with the Democrat Party, is that if you vote for the Democrats, according to them, you belong to them forever. Which has been one of my biggest issues with the left these days, is that if you vote for them at any point in time, you are with them forever, or else you are a race traitor or something. Sounds an awful lot like something Richard Spencer would say to a guy like me. But that's where we're at. It is this disgusting idea that there is supposed to be some sort of collective loyalty to a party. If you are X, Y, or Z, you must believe a certain idea, or you must follow this certain thing. I find that patently ridiculous.
Actually, I find that kind of offensive. That's bigotry.
Yeah.
You have to conform to this stereotype that we have imposed upon you.
Or you are a race traitor, or you are a gender traitor, or you are a, whoever you fuck in the bedroom traitor. It's incredible that they don't see the irony of that statement.
When did becoming gay, or when did being gay become a damn political ideology?
I don't know.
This is fucking ridiculous.
It makes no sense at all. It's like as if there is a point, like when you come out of the closet, there's a member of the like Nancy Pelosi shows up at your door and gives you your official membership into the Democratic Party. Fuck off. Really?
The day you come out, you get your blue cake and your Democrat voter ID.
Yeah, it's...
Oh, wait, no, they hate voter ID, too. Never mind.
Yeah. But let's think about that for a second. There's just this idea that you have to think a certain way or vote a certain way because you are a certain way. I don't vote what you believe, and go from there.
Yeah, we don't demand Christians vote for Republicans, for God's sake.
Yeah, and you shouldn't, because there may be a point in time where Christians will have problems with the Republican Party. It may happen. You never know.
Mm-hmm. No, you do not owe anyone your allegiance, least of all because of your identity.
Yeah.
I mean, you're free to choose whoever you want. And anyone who expects you to vote a certain way can go fuck themselves.
Yes, your allegiance is who you decide to give it to. And the idea that any man deserves your eternal servitude is ridiculous. Which leads me to something. because we're about to move into the Q&A. But this is an example. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Okay. This is an example. This is the only anyone that I give my absolute undying loyalty to, and that's God. Deus Vult.
Deus Vult, indeed.
Ah, about fell out of my chair there. But that's why I branded myself with that. Is because it's what I believe. I believe in God. I believe that He's the ultimate authority. And in my opinion, that's the only anything in the universe that can demand undying loyalty and earn it from someone. Only thing in the universe that I'm, loyal to above all else. But let's also face it, this design's freaking awesome too. I mean, look at this thing. Look at it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
So before we get into the Q&A, go ahead and start putting your questions in, folks. But I designed this tattoo without the ribbon 7 years ago. And I go to a tattoo artist. I'm like, hey, I had this idea of putting text under it. And he's like, why don't we do this? He's like, I know you're on a limited budget. So why don't we do this? I'll make a ribbon that will actually take down the time for me doing this. And we'll wrap it around the cross with what you want to put under it. And there we go. So, my tattoo artist is a stud, to say the least. And we talked metal, the entire time he was doing it. It was great. It doesn't really hurt, either, at all. You can hear me slapping it. Okay, that did hurt a little bit. But, it's already starting to scab up, which is good. But I told him, I'm like, I heal very fast from injuries. So, I healed a freaking torn meniscus in the course of a month. Alright, let's go ahead and check the Twitter and the Discord to see if our patrons have put anything in there. Also, if you guys want to, the Streamlabs link is in the description of the video. If you have a question, you want to get priority on it, you can always pay us to answer it. We're not going to lie to you. And if you wanted to become a monthly patron, please consider doing so. The link is also in the description of the video. So, I know that we had a politics question from Delta Core, and he basically wanted to ask us, he had a long bit on this, but let me go ahead and put this here, is that he said that we really barter with people's lives in regards to discussions and things like that because of the effects that they have. Well, it's not bartering with a direct life, like trading one man's life for another, or sawing the baby in half or something along those lines. Every action you take will have an equal and opposite reaction, and every negotiation you have ultimately does have effects on people's lives. But you're not bartering direct with people's lives, which is why I have an issue when people say that. It's like, oh, we don't barter with people's lives. Well, you're not really bartering with actual lives here. You're bartering what might have an effect on those lives. So that would be my answer to that. How about you, Hatman?
I pretty much concur.
And then Talon Silverbane wanted to know, how do most Americans feel about the EU, and what would many of you think if it somehow manages to make itself the United States of Europe? I don't really think there's an official American opinion on the European Union. I think that a lot of people who are aware of it don't really like it, because we don't think of Europe as a collection of states. We consider it a collection of countries.
Yeah, it's very, very different from the U.S. And I believe your MEPs aren't even directly elected.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's very, very different from how we do things here in the States.
Yeah.
So, Duke of Tumwater on Twitter. Why did so many totalitarian dictators pop up in the 20th century? One word. Communism.
Yep. That's pretty much it.
Communism.
You'll notice that all of them outside of Hitler and Mussolini and Tojo?
Yes.
Yeah, Tojo were... All of them except those three were communists.
Tojo being the exception, Hitler and Mussolini rose as a reaction to communism.
Yes.
The only reason that we got fascism was because of the threat of a communist takeover of Europe.
Mm-hmm. Which inevitably almost happened.
It did almost happen. Even then, you had either communism or fascism, both of them absolutely fucking wrong. So, good thing. Well, I suppose it is a good thing we're at where we are now, even if the EU is kind of trash.
Yeah.
Much better alternative than a fucking communist state.
We have yet to see Europe embrace Lockean philosophy.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. What else did we have on the...
That's it. The other one from Duke of Tumwater that's politics related we'll have to save for the overflow. By the way, speaking of overflow, we're going to have another overflood because snow happened, and that kind of fucked up schedules. So we couldn't record overflow this week. So we will have an overflood for you.
Yes, to say the least. So let's go ahead and look at the chat here. Thoughts on the Patreon and PayPal surge of Sargon and others. Or purge of Sargon and others.
Yes.
They're boiling the frog.
Yeah, pretty much. Sargon broke no rules on Patreon. They had to dig for something that he had done like off-site.
Yep.
To do that. Stretching the TOS paper thin.
Yeah.
It's... No.
Because the original terms of service were about what you do on Patreon.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that softcore pornography gets basically sold on Patreon.
Yeah.
But him using admittedly racist language to make try to make a very, very ill-pointed point towards alt-right guys wasn't a good move, but hardly ban-worthy. But I think that, they're trying to unperson him, or they're trying to basically cut people off at the seams. The thing is that, all things considered, he's relatively moderate in his politics. Mm-hmm. He's just not your traditional left-winger.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's... Honestly, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was banned in a wave with Milo and James Alsop, that is very much a boiling the frog situation.
Yeah, they're looking to see who gets the reaction.
Yeah.
And nobody gave a shit that James Alsop got banned. Nobody. Because James Alsop's an alt-right guy. He's a piece of shit. Yeah. You know, he was at Charlottesville. Milo's Milo. Everybody hates...
Milo is Milo.
Yeah, it's like that was a given. You know, so nobody would be surprised he gets banned on something. Yeah. Sargon hadn't done anything that really seemed ban-worthy, so everybody's pissed.
On top of that, they didn't give that reason to him.
Yeah, exactly. They have not said word one to him yet.
Yeah, which is totally wrong. And I believe they're also holding payments, too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's even been paid yet. I don't think Milo has.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's fucked up all around. This is exactly why Silicon Valley oligarchy needs to fucking go.
Yeah, hopefully we'll start to see different startups and things like that come in. Hopefully Subscribestar can do pretty well. I know that they're having issues with PayPal right now.
Of course, well, because somebody decided to get Sleeping Giants in at them. And Jared Holt, and it's... Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Lord, we are getting stupid use out of that button today.
Oh, yeah. All right. Have we been reading any good, interesting books lately? I've been getting into Coming Apart by Charles Murray.
I have not. I've been meaning to read Conquest of Bread by Kropotkin, which is basically your ANCOM manifesto, but I just keep putting it off, admittedly, because I'm fucking lazy. So,
where's this week's overflow? We mentioned that we're gonna do a big one.
Yep. Yep, we'll do a big one. Snow happened. Here's something that I really want to answer. Thoughts on not senator, he's representative, Ted Lieu admitting he would get rid of free speech if it weren't for the U.S. Constitution.
Tyrant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like that one guy who said he would nuke people who didn't want to give up their guns. Tyrant. Yeah, that's what you are.
Yeah, that's completely fucked. I mean, the mask is slipping now.
Yeah.
The mask has started to slip at last. So, no, he needs to be gone. But I believe he comes from California, so he's not going to be fucking gone until he decides to quit.
Pretty much.
Or gets involved in a sex scandal.
Milo's back, abandoning the paywall, and he's getting involved with an alternative to SNL. Thoughts? Well, Milo's in big-time financial financial trouble, so he needs something. Could it work out for him? We'll have to see. But there's no guarantees there. What's our thoughts on religious iconography being represented in government? Like the headscarf being discussed.
What in what way? Like just
like
changing changing the house rules to allow headscarves? Because I think that was something that got brought up because you had Muslim women elected to the House that would not be able to wear their headscarves on the floor, and they wanted to change the rules for that. Is that what you're asking?
Which I think that I don't really see why that would be a problem. You know,
no, I don't think it'd be a problem.
It's not a government endorsement of religion.
No, it's not.
That's what the First Amendment is against.
Yeah.
It's government endorsement of a particular religion.
Yeah. If anything, it's allowing, the free exercise of religion, on a government property, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah. And it doesn't just affect people who are Muslim. It would affect people who are Sikh that get elected to government as Sikh. Yeah. They get elected to government so they can wear their turbans.
Yeah.
Which may happen someday.
Yeah, very well could.
Not what Louis LeBeau thinks. Well, he can get over it.
Yeah. I mean, this is...
He hates religion.
For God's sake.
Like, yeah, I don't really care what he thinks.
Yeah, I don't give a damn if they're Muslim or not. Let them practice it. As long as it's not causing direct harm to anybody, let them practice.
Yeah, exactly.
The PewDiePie thing we're going to cover in entertainment.
Yep.
That is a big thing that we're going to cover in entertainment.
What conservative authors do we enjoy reading, if any at all? Outside of the Founding Fathers, because I love the Federalist Papers.
Really good stuff.
My big one is Thomas Sowell. He's probably my top pick. John Locke, obviously. He is the conservative author. The other that I would say, God, what's a really good one? Charles Murray's another good one. The Bell Curve, and then Coming Apart is basically talking about the same subject as the Bell Curve, but more on a socioeconomic thing than just raw statistics, which is largely what the Bell Curve is. Because for those who don't know, the Bell Curve is not necessarily a book, it is a study. It is a huge demographic study. And most of it's statistics and a little bit of philosophy. But yeah.
I always like what Shapiro writes.
Yeah, Shapiro's good too.
More modern person.
Yeah, Bullies is especially a great book. Another one I would recommend would be Righteous Indignation by Andrew Breitbart.
That's a classic, a conservative classic, really.
Yeah. That one he really goes into in-depth on where the culture is starting to go. And he had the effects of the Frankfurt School scouted a long time ago.
Yeah. God, if he were still alive today, man.
Yeah. It'd be weird. It'd be really weird.
Yeah.
Because from what Shapiro said, when Michelle, what's her name, was grabbed by Lewandowski. According to Shapiro and other people that knew Andrew, he would have been in Trump's office the next day screaming at him.
Mm.
It's like, damn, that guy had balls.
Mm.
What are our thoughts on the rumors of a Biden-Beto presidential run in 2020? That's probably going to be the ticket, according to current polls. Those are the two front runners. That's what's weird. Elizabeth Warren's out. Nobody's talking about Kamala Harris anymore.
Bernie's in second place.
On the MoveOn.org poll?
Yes.
I thought it was Biden that was second.
Biden's got 20%. Bernie's got 11%.
But there was a recent poll that had Beto up in front.
Beto's at 8.
The MoveOn.org one. Are you sure? I double checked that because I'm pretty sure I saw that. If it wasn't MoveOn, it was a different one that had Beto at the front runner. Because I remember Shapiro was talking about it earlier in the week about the possibility of Beto running. How he got so popular, I have no idea. Because running Beto would be like you're running a loser at that point. He couldn't beat Ted Cruz. What makes you think he's going to beat Donald Trump?
Okay, never mind. I'm thinking of a different poll then. I thought it was.
You might be thinking of an older one. Because this surge has only happened recently for him.
No, I was thinking of a poll. It was a poll that had the results come in just like 2 days ago. But no, you're right. It's Beto O'Rourke, then Biden, then Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
So no.
Like I said, how on earth that happened? But Bernie's starting to fall out of favor. The Bernie bros are moving on to a younger candidate. And Beto is a threat in a certain way because he can bridge all three elements. He'll more than happily bend over for the intersectional folks that are in the party. He is fairly popular with the establishment Democrats, and he's also got the Bernie bros behind him because he basically preaches the exact same thing that Bernie Sanders does. So when it comes right down to it, though, I think that Biden and then Beto as his vice would probably be where it goes because Biden will have... At the end of the day, with the Democratic Party, you can talk about the three parts of it, the intersectionals, the Bernie bros, and the establishment. The only one that matters is the third one. Because they've got control. They're the ones in power.
You're inevitably going to have that section saying that this does not represent the diversity of the Democratic Party, the shifting paradigms and stuff, but they're going to end up voting Democrat anyway.
Yeah.
So their complaints really do not fucking matter.
Exactly.
At the end of the day. And Beto, honestly, I don't understand why everyone is going all in on Beto. Like, yeah, he appears to be like a Bobby Kennedy type, but let's be real. The only reason why he's as popular as he is because people were adamant about giving him all the money just because of who he was up against. He was running against Ted Cruz, and the Democrats absolutely hate Ted Cruz. Just like whoever runs against Mitch McConnell is going to get the same sort of national attention. That's just what's going to happen.
Pretty much. All right, we have hit our hour mark, folks, so go ahead and put in your questions for the overflood. Oh, and Seth, whoa. Dude, I'm glad I could help. And I'm glad you're still with us.
Yes. Yes.
Stay strong, buddy. Stay strong. I'll be praying for you. So, we're going to go ahead and close this one out. Don't go anywhere, though. We got the entertainment podcast after this, where we talk about a red panda that loves death metal. Yeah, I watched it. Let's go ahead and get rocking, though. So, folks, stick around. If you got a question for the overflow, please go ahead and put it into the chat. Brainbox will get it for us. And then also, don't forget, after the entertainment podcast, we are also doing game night tonight. I don't know if Hatman's going to be able to stick around, but Brainbox and I will be playing through Resident Evil 5 together for a couple hours, and it should be fun, for nothing else. But With all that said, my name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as the Hatman.
We'll see you guys soon. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.